Day 5, Saturday morning, 4:40. Full strength father in full effect. Get it, you won't regret it. Brutal. Check this out. Unreal. That's one thing I love about the early morning training sessions is you always catch the sunrise. And here in New Mexico, you can't beat them. That's for sure. Let me catch my breath and then I'll tell you what I did. Day 5, full strength father, aerobic capacity day, Saturday morning, got after it, felt great. This was a blend of sandbag over shoulder, ski erg, echo bike, and a carry. So the way I broke this up was into AMRAPs, or as many rounds as possible. So this means that you set a certain time frame and then you complete the rounds of the movements and reps as many times as you can in that time frame. And it's always beneficial to track how many rounds and reps you get so that you can measure your progress and measure your performance. So I had an 8-minute AMRAP of 1 sandbag over shoulder per side, and then 8 calorie ski erg, and I just cycled between that for 8 minutes. Then I rested 2.5 minutes, straight to another AMRAP, 8 minutes again. This one was first a carry, 8 yards out, 8 yards back with a Husafel sandbag, followed by 8 calories on the echo bike. So that whole thing was repeated twice. The only thing that changed was in the second round, I added 50 pounds to the sandbag over shoulder. So I went from a 100-pound sandbag to a 150. I ascended in weight. On the carry, I kept it the same the whole time at 200 pounds. So what happened, as you'll see, is that even though I was giving my best effort, I wasn't able to get as many rounds in the second round of the first AMRAP with that heavier sandbag. It slowed me down a little bit, but what I loved about it and the way I designed it was so that the 100-pound bag would sort of warm me up and prep me for the heavier bag and those more difficult sandbag over shoulders. So a little thought process behind why I structured it this way. Number one, the amount of work. So those 8-minute AMRAPs added up, total 32 minutes of work at a higher intensity than what I typically do for aerobic work. So mindful of that, obviously the rest built in made the whole session a little bit longer than 32 minutes. But the first AMRAP, I paired a flexion movement with an extension movement. So the extension movement, the clean, hits the posterior chain. You have to be dynamic, your hips, everything have to work together to get that bag over your shoulder. And then immediately into that ski erg, which is a flexion movement, meaning I'm flexing forward, I'm using the front of my body. So I'm using the back side of my body and the front side of my body and back and forth. And that's a really great contrast in a conditioning session. Another way to structure that would be, or another example of that would be a burpee. You're pulling your body in. There's a flexion element to that. You also have a little bit of extension on a burpee if you jump, and you could pair that with a kettlebell swing. Those two together, you can already think about it, would be a really tough combination. So the nice thing about the ski erg and the rower, those two pieces in particular, the concept two pieces, is that they give you that opportunity to add in flexion and extension in any session. You can pair it with whatever you want. Now you could obviously do back-to-back movements that are extension or back-to-back movements that are flexion and mix it up, and that's always cool. So the biggest thing I would say is just experiment with what you like and don't be afraid to have variety in those conditioning pieces. But the main thing here was like, I want to have 2 cyclical pieces and then 2 sandbag pieces, and I want to have a carry and I want to have some sort of dynamic movement. Why is this important for me? Well, as I'm training for my Strongman competition next year, in about 6 months, there's a sandbag over yoke event, and then there's also a carry event. So if I can add a variety of dynamic movements like the sandbag over yoke, something that mimics that, as well as a sandbag carry, which I'm going to be doing a duck walk, which is a little bit different. But if I can mix in carries and dynamic movements throughout my training blocks in a wide variety, my base will be amazing as I go into specific contest prep. It wouldn't be good for me to train specific events now. I mean, I could, but if that's all I did, I wouldn't have as wide of a base going into it from a conditioning standpoint and just an overall movement standpoint, capacity standpoint, I should say. So that's the thought process there. In addition to that, these sort of aerobic sessions are really beneficial for my Spartan Trifecta prep because I want to have a really good aerobic base for that. The most challenging of those 3 Spartan races that I need to complete in the same year would be the longest one. I think it's called the Beast, and it's over 20 miles. So in order to prepare for the Spartan races, I will need to mix in running as I get closer to them. But for now, the main thing I'm doing to prepare for the running is a step count every day. So it's really about how many steps I can accumulate day to day, week to week. So I'm looking at mileage in steps as my volume for preparing for running right now. And what's cool about that is that doesn't require a lot of structural stress versus running, which would be a lot more stressful on my body and it would affect my strength training. I need to get stronger for the Strongman competition for sure, based on the weights that I'll most likely be using depending on the class that I'm in. But I also want to make sure that I'm not stupid when I go into the Spartan race and hurt myself because I haven't ran it all and I just go out and just trash my body. So the idea is that I perform at a high level in 2 different modalities, 2 different competitions in the same year, and do it in an intelligent manner without spending too much time in the gym so that I can enjoy that pursuit and also maximize my family life, my fitness, and my career at the same time. And that's really one of the things that I'm excited about with Full Strength Father is being able to teach and guide other men to do the same thing, to maximize their own physicality and confidence through strength training and proper nutrition and all the things that come from that. That level men up, make them stronger, make them more resilient through those things. It's always great to have something you're pursuing. Granted, I trained for many years after playing college baseball without a specific competition to pursue. I just did the thing. But for me, I'm excited about this new chapter to pursue a couple competitions and, like I said, do it in an intelligent way, with the goal being longevity over term. Now, here's the thing. At its core, sport is not a longevity play at all. Because anytime you pursue performance, there is that trade-off when it comes to longevity. Because the two, I should say like elite performance levels, the two are at odds with one another. Because to get elite performance from a physical standpoint, whether it be strength, endurance, anything like that, you have to go to a level that is extremely challenging for your body to sustain
which is why there are shorter careers in different sports. If you look at football versus baseball versus endurance sports, they all have their different lifespans because of the intensity and the requirements on the body. So when we as weekend warriors or, as just dads want to pursue a competition, like an endurance event or some sort of strength event, we have to remember that the pursuit of that, if done incorrectly, can hit us down the road. But if you do it correctly with the right perspective, still competitive, still pushing, but understanding all the principles behind what you're doing, you can enjoy that competition and the experience of it and the motivation of it without the trade-offs that come with that crazy hard pursuit of performance, if that makes sense. So granted, I could talk for a longer time about that whole concept, but I think really for me, it's just understanding that this strongman competition, I want to do well in it, I want to compete, but it's not about me versus them, the other competitors. It's about me versus me and being the best version of myself on that competition stage. And I'm looking forward to having my boys come out to watch me. I got a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and I think that's going to be a cool experience for them to see me doing something like that and to lead by example. So, really excited for the future. I'm excited for Full Strength Father. Right now, my concept of it is to have great programming for other fathers who are in a similar situation, who want to maximize their lives. So have programming tracks for that, and then also build a community around fatherhood and being the best we can possibly be. So with that, I will catch you in the next video. As always, reach out via the interwebs, ask me questions. I'd love to help however I can. So see you in the next vid.